Hello everyone, and welcome to Horrific Tales. Join us as we delve into the classic era of horror comics with a story from issue 1 of the Beyond. In this story we look at the tragic tale of Professor Drago and an affliction that unleashes the beast within. Join us now as we present The Werewolf Strikes. Who can say what monstrous forms exist beyond the bright burning glow of the torches of modern science? Who could believe that a loathsome creature bearing the mark of the beast and called in trembling tones a werewolf could actually enter the peaceful setting of a quiet New England town to wreak bloody murder and vanish into the shadows of the Black Night, only to reappear and strike again at helpless victims? If you could calm the fearful memories of the townspeople of Finnick for a while, you might get one of them to tell you this story. On a certain dark and threatening night, in the small New England fishing village of Finnick, the hour was drawing close to midnight as two fishermen paused momentarily before a small inn's door. "How's about one more glass before we call it a night, eh, Johnny? I wouldn't have you think me a poor sport, Stubb, but it's best get started for my father's farm. It's a better part of an hour's walk from here. Aye, Johnny, and mind you don't take a shortcut through the old cemetery. It's not the proper hour for a living man to walk amongst the dead. Don't fear for me, mate. Pity the poor man or spirit who would pick a fight with Johnny Flask." 20 minutes later, the young fisherman was a shadow amongst shadows, as a pale moon flickered uncertainly across the crumbling gravestones. Then, quite suddenly, there seems to be something following me. Maybe it's my ears playing tricks. Or that last glass was Stubb. Wait, I hear it again. What in the name of heaven are you? No, let go! Ah! I must kill. As the final death cry strained through the slain man's throat, the monstrous creature released its grip. Then, with a final animal cry over its victim, it darted off, and minutes later approached the darkened house in a lonely stretch of woods. In the morning, they will find the torn body, but they will know nothing. I will be safe from all of them. They would never look for me here. The simple fools dare not even think that a creature such as I can really exist, that I have the power to destroy their living flesh with a single blow. But now I must sleep. With the coming of dawn, the figure in the armchair stirred. As the morning frost melted before the rising sun, so too the hideous features of the beast unclamped their hold with the coming of a new day. I've been asleep. Wait, last night, the graveyard. Yes, it's happened again. My cursed affliction has returned once more. The ancient curse of the werewolf still lives within my body. For years I've developed my skill as a scientist, hoping to discover the serum that would rid my body of this monstrous fiend. But I've failed. Perhaps there is still time, if I can only find some young scientist to help me. Someone who wouldn't suspect. Maybe these hands can be kept as they are, no longer to change in the claws which seek out the throbbing throats of men. Several days later, a young man and his fiancée stood before the scientist's door, while a mournful wind whispered ominously amongst the naked branches of the surrounding trees. I don't like the looks of it, Joel. Besides, it's so close to the cemetery where that horrible crime took place. You're becoming alarmed over nothing, Gale. He probably picked this lonely spot so he could have privacy. Look, honey, if a famous European scientist like Professor Drago is willing to have me as his assistant, I should be the last one to complain. And what's more, a job means we can be married soon. I guess you're right, Joel. Let's go in. A few moments later, I've selected your letters out of all those I received, Mr. Carlton, because of your background in experimental research. However, until our work is completed, it will be necessary that you stay here in this house. Stay here? I realize how difficult it will be for him to be parted from so charming and beautiful a woman, But then, this can be his great chance. He's right, Gail. Alright, Joel. You'll come and see me when you can. During the days that follow, Joel worked in an adjoining laboratory with the strict orders that he wasn't to enter the professor's room unless he was called. One night, just past midnight, these compounds are the strangest. That noise, it came from the professor's lab. Professor Drago, are you alright? It's nothing, Joel. A rack of tubes fell off the table. Go back to your work. I can feel the blood pounding in my veins. My body swells with animal strength and my brain twists inside my skull as if seeking release. I'm free once more. Free to roam the night, to prowl, to destroy, to kill. Just before the dawn, when the night is at its blackest, a lone railroad worker checked a freight car at a separate siding. Then suddenly, his cry has attracted the railroad police. I must get away. How horrible! His throat is ripped from ear to ear. The dawn had barely arrived, and Joel was summoned to the professor's laboratory by an urgent call. Why, Professor Drago, your arm, it's bleeding. Nothing serious, Joel. I cut it in one of those broken tubes. You'll find a first aid kit in the top drawer of my table. Late that same afternoon, as Joel was busy at work on the new batch of compounds, the door of his laboratory was suddenly thrown open. Why, Gail, what brings you here? I had to come, Joel. I'm terribly frightened. There's been another of those awful slayings, and I can't stand your being in such a lonely, deserted spot. The newspapers say that a witness has described the slayer as some kind of wolf man. It's all too horrible. Newspapers have a way of exaggerating things, honey. I agree with Joel completely. The story is a shameful abuse of scientific fact. There isn't a grain of truth to it. When I left Europe to come to America, one of my main reasons was to escape their ancient superstitions. As a man of science, I hoped that here they didn't exist. Come now, you can't really believe a story of a man turning into a wolf. I suppose not really. That's more like it, my dear. Now it would be best that if you went on home. Joel has some important work. But it'll be getting dark soon. I'm afraid. In that case, I will walk with you as far as the park at the edge of town. You will be perfectly safe, I assure you. Do that, Gail. I promise I'll be over to see you tonight, as soon as I finish refining this last batch of liquids. Alright, Joel, I'll go. An hour later, Joel's work was interrupted once more by an incessant pounding on the front door. Impatiently, he flung open the door and... I'm Inspector Corby. I'd like to see Professor Drago. Professor Drago is out at the moment. I'm his assistant, Joel Carlton. Perhaps I can help you. In the dry, matter-of-fact tones of a police officer, Inspector Corby stated his business, as well as his suspicions. I don't go much for these werewolf stories, but a railroad policeman wounded the attacker last night. We used dogs, Mr. Carlton. Wolfhounds. They trailed the blood spoor to this house. You say he was wounded? And last night, in his lab, I dressed a bad cut in Professor Drago's arm. But it can't be. Come on, man, that's all I wanted to hear. We're taking a look in that lab. In a matter of minutes, the lock on the professor's door was sprung. A moment later, the inspector gave a cry of discovery. Look! This book deals with ancient sorceries, and there's a marker on the section dealing with werewolves. It looks like the professor goes in for some mighty strange reading. Great heavens! All of these books deal with some phase of the black arts. He left this house over an hour ago with my fiancée. He was the walker to the park at the edge of town. We've got to do something. Quick, my car is outside. We'll be there in a few minutes. And at the same moment in a nearby park, the pale moon was struggling through threatening clouds as the professor's words wove an hypnotic pattern of rhythmic sound. You are not in love with Joel, my dear. You have been in love with me from the first moment we met. I have the power to do great things for you. You will forget, Joel. You hear and believe everything I say, don't you? Yes, I hear. I hear and believe. But a moment later, as a silvery beam of moonlight filtered earthwards, the cursed moonlight, the light burns into my brain once more. Now you see me in all my strength and power. Your blood turns to ice, and the pulse in your white throat trembles with fear. But soon it shall be stilled, forever. They've come after me, but they won't rob me of my victim. I'll carry her off. There he goes, into the old bell tower. We've got to follow him before it's too late. He's put her down. I don't care what happens to me, but I've got to save Gail. For several moments, Joel put up a desperate but losing fight. Slowly the monster's claws tightened around its victim's throat. Then suddenly... As Joel and Gail descended to the floor below, an unbelievable and staggering sight met their eyes. It's utterly fantastic. But now I can understand his secrecy, those strange compounds I worked with. He was probably seeking a means to rid himself of this affliction, and now he's found release at last, in death. Well, we hope that you enjoyed our latest horrific tale. If you want to keep up to date with future episodes, then subscribe to our email list for our weekly newsletter. You can also give the channel support by visiting our merchandise store, or using the affiliate links in the episode description. We'd also appreciate it if you take a moment to support our contributed artists who very kindly lend their talents to this show. Check out the links in the description and see how you can do this. Well my friends, that just leaves me to say, until next time, keep up to date with the channel, do the type of clicky things, and remember, to keep it creepy, keep it horrific.